Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my FXmovies.20 channel? Thank you so much. That evening, when completing dinner, I experienced perspiration saturate my back, prompting my decision to shower for enhanced well-being. The bathroom was small yet comfortable. The sensation of warm water cascading over my skin was mildly displeasing. Upon completion of my shower, I selected a light beige outfit. I typically donned a V-neck dress at home, which had a lengthy zipper located at the back. I entered the bedroom to place it on, but as I withdrew the zipper, I discovered that it was jammed in the center. Regardless of my efforts, I was unable to retrieve it. I observed my surroundings in uncertainty, contemplating whether to contact my husband for assistance. However, upon entering the living room, the weak light illuminated only my presence. My father-in-law was seated in a chair. I gazed at him, his eyes somewhat resembling my husband's. Aiden has just exited, likely to procure certain items. Is there an issue? His voice was composed. I bit my lip in response. The circumstance was unique. I spoke uncomfortably. The skirt zipper is jammed. Can you assist me? I perceived him placing his teacup down on the table as he approached closer. He positioned himself just behind me, the separation between us causing my breath to caress the back of my neck, which was somewhat uncomfortable. He cautiously grasped the zipper. It appears to be somewhat impeded in the cloth, he stated, his hand beginning to tug. I heard a faint click, followed by events transpiring rapidly. The zipper descended forcefully along the soft silk, and the skirt fell to my feet. In that moment, I stood there suspended, perceiving time as if it were prevented from moving. The wind from the window felt frigid against my skin. Greetings, I am Leah, 28 years of age. I have been married to Aiden for 3 years. Married life appears ideal, an appealing residence, a secure occupation, and financial stability. Aiden is a devoted family man, perpetually dedicated to me, and I am proud of my advancing career, where I can exhibit my capabilities and derive pleasure from my work. My regular work involves cohabitation with my father-in-law, Mr. John, a man in his late 60s. He is robust and composed, serving as an exemplar of the individual with whom I consistently interact. He not only fulfills the role of a father within the family, but also acts as a mediator whenever Aiden and I have a disagreement. Our conflicts primarily center on Aiden's desire for a more comprehensive family experience, accompanied by children's laughter. Although I am unprepared for that, I wish to concentrate on my professional development to cultivate my personal aspirations before pursuing motherhood. Consequently, this narrative became the origin of durable arguments. However, those arguments never diminished our affection for one another. Aiden consistently and patiently convinced me, and I attempted to elucidate my perspective. Subsequently, my father-in-law quietly intervened. Argument he consistently underscored his advice. Family entails comprehending one another. All problems can be resolved gradually due to him. Aiden and I consistently understood how to listen and acquiesce to each other. I once believed that our existence would proceed seamlessly in that manner, yet one evening, things transformed entirely. That day was as hectic as any other. In the morning, I arose earlier than customary to cook breakfast for everyone. Aiden appreciated simplicity in family matters. Breakfast often consists of a slice of toast and a cup of black coffee. I also indulged myself with a coffee and a glass of warm milk to commence my day. My father-in-law, Mr. John, still retained the practice of perusing the newspaper while consuming a cup of tea each morning. The atmosphere within the residence is consistently tranquil, inviting, and replete with delightful fragrances from the kitchen. Subsequently, I hastily prepared to depart for work. Although my office position was not overly arduous, it necessitated a considerable degree of focus. I donned a white shirt, refined trousers, and delicate high heels that enhanced my confidence along the journey. I visited a nearby cafe to purchase an additional latte as a means of self-reward prior to an extended period at work. That day, the workplace was busier than usual. The consecutive meetings typically left me with minimal opportunity for respite. I endeavored to manage every email and every report, fulfilling the assignments on time. Nevertheless, I consistently maintained an optimistic outlook because I was aware that this position constituted not merely an obligation but also my passion. At 5 p.m., I gathered my paperwork and departed from the company. Upon exiting onto the street, the mild midday sunlight radiated, providing me a sense of relief following a difficult experience. After my workday, I visited the grocery store in proximity to my residence to procure fresh provisions. Today, I intended to prepare a more delectable dish for dinner, one that was more substantial than normal due to the circumstances. It had been a considerable duration since the entire family had the opportunity to dine together. Upon arriving home, I promptly proceeded to the kitchen. Aiden had just returned and grinned as he assisted me in arranging the table. Spicy chicken soup, a dish of grilled salmon accompanied by a serving of aromatic stir-fried veggies were displayed on the table. My father-in-law exited some smiling with contentment when we convened for dinner, engaging in conversation and laughter throughout the meal. Although there were a few minor disputes around possession, family lunches for children are consistently cherished. I did not anticipate that after that apparently tranquil dinner, an unforeseen occurrence might alter the atmosphere. Following dinner, I experienced a slight sensation of constipation, so I proceeded to the restroom to refresh. The tension in my heart alleviated after the shower. I chose a silk cream hue for my preferred dress, featuring a zipper at the rear. When I positioned myself before the mirror, I realized that the zipper was immobilized. I fumbled midway, yet still I was unable to fasten it. So I exited to the living room with the intention of requesting Aiden for assistance. Although the living area was devoid of occupants, I turned and yelled out, "Aiden, where are you?" There was no method to respond to my inquiry. My father-in-law was seated in a chair when Aiden walked outside to read. "Greetings." I experienced some hesitation. However, ultimately I said, "The zipper of my dress is jammed. I am unable to do so. Could you assist me?" He placed the book down and stood up. "Let me see," he approached, his demeanor as tranquil as always. I averted my gaze, gently inclining my head to offer him enhanced accessibility to the zipper. His hand, solid and robust, contacted the zipper. He stated that it seemed to be ensnared in the silk. Attempting to elevate it as he exerted force, the zipper was forcibly displaced with a slight motion. With a swish, the delicate dress descended, leaving me positioned there. We were both immobilized, perplexed. I was uncertain how to react, only remaining still akin to a statue. He swiftly averted his gaze and voice from me, overwhelmed by remorse. "I apologize, it was unintentional." I swiftly retrieved my hands, trembling as I clothed myself to envelop my physique. "It is acceptable, father." "It is merely my outfit is loose," I said, avoiding eye contact. He took a few steps back, attempting to maintain his composure and rectify the situation. Aiden returned and inquired with him. He sought assistance, then turned and exited rapidly, leaving me solitary. The mood in the room was oppressive and I felt discomfort as my heart raced, simultaneously humiliated and perplexed. I was unable to focus on any occurrence that evening. Whenever I recalled Mr. John's contrite expression, I experienced unease. I was unaware of his weight, contemplating which intensified my feelings. Aiden's late return home caused concern. He was unaware of the events that had transpired. He remained grinned and conversed joyfully, remaining oblivious that I was not. I endeavored to behave normally, yet I felt perplexed and disinterested in the days following that encounter. I observed Mr. John appeared to have undergone a transformation, ceasing to engage with me as inherently as previously, consistently endeavoring to avert my gaze whenever we inadvertently convened. The emotional impact of this experience left me apprehensive yet uncertain of how to initiate conversation to eliminate this discomfort. Despite the difficulty, there were instances when I inadvertently observed him gazing. He gazed at me, his eyes probing for anything. On those few occasions, I swiftly averted my gaze in an attempt to remain composed. While my heart was engaged in turmoil, I was unable to discern his identity, contemplating which intensified my feelings. Concerned, I reassured myself that all would be well, that time would alleviate these imperceptible fractures. Yet that morning I felt fatigued, my throat was painful, and my head was whirling. After consuming my breakfast, I realized I had a mild fever. Aiden departed home early to attend to his employment, and I opted to take a day off for recuperation. My father-in-law remained at home. Nonetheless, he routinely occupied himself with his studies, perusing books and periodicals, or engaging in other activities. I remained in bed for an extended period, contemplating my own matters, exhaustion rendering me incapable of action or engaging in any activity except attempting to sleep. However, the room was too warm, so I opted to exit to the living room in search of cooler air. I was attired in simplicity, my hair in pajamas, and my countenance became pallid due to the fever. Upon entering the living room, I observed Mr. JN seated on the chair, gazing intently at his mobile device. I greeted the screen gently, however he remained unresponsive. He merely elevated his head to gaze at me. His eyes had changed, they were no longer the familiar tranquil eyes to which I was used. "Are you unwell?" he inquired, his tone more profound than typical. "Yeah, I have a slight temperature, hence I am taking the day off," I responded, attempting to maintain my composure. He remained silent thereafter, nodded, yet his gaze remained riveted on me as though seeking something in my eyes. The sensation evoked by his appearance was unaccountably apprehensive as I was ready to venture outside, refraining from utilizing this tense environment. Yet, as I pivoted, I heard him summon Leah to come here. I possess information to convey to you. My heart halted, feeling constricted with a peculiar sensation. Mr. J.N. rose, his eyes brimming with determination, gazing directly at me. The atmosphere in the room grew oppressive. I was capable of perceiving my heart racing and my palms perspiring. He remarked, "Leah, you are exceedingly beautiful," his voice deep and resonant. In the quiet, I became immobilized, sensing as though my legs had completely lost their strength. My body was chilly. Each word he articulated felt akin to a blade piercing my heart. "Father, what are you referring to?" I inquired, my voice trembling and strangled. Yet he remained unaffected. He advanced progressively with each step, causing me to perceive the environment surrounding me as he diminished in size. His gaze remained fixed upon me. "Leah, he is not moving away for even a moment," he said with a gentle tone yet imbued with intensity. "May I have the opportunity to see you again?" I remained standing there, disbelief at my recent statement. I perceived my vision expanded, gazing at him as though probing for an indication that he was jesting, although he wasn't. His glance was so earnest that it caused me to falter. I was rendered speechless. I nearly shouted in response to maintain my composure. "How can you make such statements? Do you not express sympathy for Aiden?" A perplexed expression halted on his visage. However, his eyes remained fixed on me. "Leah, I do not." He inquired if I was aware of what transpired to him. His voice was quiet. "I have not been bidding since that day. I am unable to cease contemplating you." I receded, attempting to maintain my distance. "Your statement is fundamentally incorrect. You are terminating the relationship. I am your family daughter-in-law." I am aware, he interjected, his voice raised but swiftly mitigated. "However, I cannot suppress this sensation, regulate it." "Father!" My voice yelled, trembling, my eyes burning. "I no longer wish to hear it. I do not comprehend how you could articulate such statements. I am incredulous." Mr. John remained stationary, his gaze sank to the ground as though endeavoring to combat an internal force. The atmosphere in the room was oppressive and I was gasping for breath. After an extended interval, he dropped his shoulders, drooping. His voice was subdued yet trembling. "Leah, I am uncertain about the reasons behind these circumstances. It has resulted in this manner. I apologize, but I cannot deceive myself." I stood there, bewildered and in a state of dread surging in waves, yet my legs felt as though they were immobilized, unable to advance. He approached gradually, each movement liberating yet imbued under pressure. His gaze remained riveted on mine, imbued with discord and an ineffable melancholy. I retreated, yet the diminutive table obstructed my path, hindering me. "I recognize that this is incorrect," he persisted, his tone subdued yet still. "This sensation is undeniably frightening. I do not wish to cause you pain, yet I am unable to refrain from contemplating you." I perceived my heart throbbing intensely as though it were about to detonate within my chest. "Father, are you aware of the implications of your statements?" "We are unable to do so. Rectify this, it is incorrect. It will be detrimental." I yelled, my voice faltering. He halted before me, his emotions evident, eyes brimming with anguish. "I am aware, Leah. I am aware of all that, but I also recognize I am unable to return." "You sense it absolutely correct." His question was akin to a knife that severed. I delved into my thoughts and shook my head, attempting to refute it. However, my body resisted compliance. In my thoughts, his gaze was imploring, not through coercion but with a sense of powerlessness and nudity. I am uncertain about the events that transpired at that time. The entire room appeared to vanish, all sounds seemed indistinct upon his advancement. The separation between us was nearly palpable. I did not erase all the imperceptible barriers. The connection between him and myself had vanished. In that moment, it concluded. I remained seated. Chair, my hands trembling, my heart was motionless, without control, throbbing. However, the sensation was no longer prolonged confrontation stemming from Professor. I found fear was incredulous at the recent occurrence. Mr. Jan stood before me, his eyes brimming with tears. To Leah's astonishment, he commenced. However, his tone was strangled. "No," I disrupted my speech, quaking. "Refrain from speaking, refrain from anything further." I rose, sensing that my legs lacked all remaining strength. Yet I persisted, endeavoring to proceed swiftly toward the door. As my hand made contact with the doorknob, he spoke once more, his tone laden with anguish. "Leah, I sincerely apologize. Apologies for not turning." I discreetly exited the room. Tears cascaded down my cheeks and I was overwhelmed with remorse and bewilderment. I was uncertain how to confront myself, Aiden, or John following recent events. That night, I lay in bed, unable to sleep, unable to slumber. Visual representations, emotions, and words plagued my thoughts. I contemplated how circumstances progressed to this point. How may we confront reality from this point? I possessed no response, and possibly neither did John. In the subsequent days, I resided in perpetual anguish regarding the act of disclosure to Aiden. Everything persisted in my mind. However, whenever I contemplated it, I perceived myself as powerless. I understood that if Aiden discovered the relationship between him and me, our father would never return to his former state. The hallowed paternal bond would be obliterated. I have consistently endeavored to maintain everything internally, concealing the anguish and remorse. However, that merely intensified my feelings. I felt asphyxiated. I recognized that the only course of action available to me now is to depart from this. Only by placing it in that manner would it cease operations to prevent future progression and safeguard this kin from initiating the process of collapse. However, I endeavored to maintain a grin to keep a facade of normalcy. I did not wish for Aiden to perceive any discrepancies. Prior to my having the audacity to articulate, I created what I desired: daily breakfast, tidied the residence, and grinned as though everything was proceeding effortlessly. While within, I had resolved my mind. Even subsequent to dinner, while the family convened, I awaited in the living room. I expressed the possibility to converse with Aiden, gently endeavoring to maintain a composed tone. Aiden seems to have something to convey, I said, gazing at him, his eyes brimming with concern. Is there a problem or concern? I inhaled deeply in an attempt to soothe myself. I believe we should relocate. We can commence anew. I sensed the possibility of a new life elsewhere. It would be beneficial for both of us. Aiden froze, his eyebrows wrinkled. What has prompted your sudden desire to accomplish that? We have been performing adequately here. I shook my head, attempting to indicate that something was amiss, to grin reassuringly. I merely desired we require some distance, and I believe it is time to depart. Aiden placed his hand on my shoulder, his voice grave. Leah, I am aware that something is off. Do not conceal it from me. Inform me of what it is. Before I could respond, Mr. Jan arrived, descending the stairs. He had overheard the entirety. Leah is correct, John, he spoke in a voice that was subdued yet resolute. Aiden, it is advisable for you to relocate as well. Leah requires some distance to establish her life. I do not wish to detain you both here. Aiden gazed at him, his eyes imbued with confusion. I am taken aback, yet I do not wish to depart. I believe we can continue cohabiting. Mr. Jan smiled and caressed Aiden on the shoulder. It is not a cause for concern. I am well. You and Leah ought to move forward with what is optimal for your future. Aiden was silent for an extended period, his eyes slowly humiliated. Ultimately, he acquiesced, stating, if you assert it, I concur, father. But I shall attend to visit you frequently. I remained silent, merely lowered my head, experiencing a blend of melancholy. I understood the reason for Mr. Jan's assistance constituted his method of creating modifications to prevent this family from disintegrating. As darkness descended, I remained in my room, gazing out the window with an emptiness. I recognized my decision to depart was the appropriate course of action, although the discomfort and guilt would accompany me wherever I traveled. My narrative imparted a significant lesson. Every error commences with a minor misstep. Limitations exist, occasionally fractured by merely a fleeting instant of momentary negligence. Vulnerability may result in unpredictability. None of us are flawless, yet there are repercussions. It constitutes the acknowledgement of identifying and rectifying errors that is always valuable. The crucial interpersonal connections in your vicinity, particularly kinship, family, serve not merely as a refuge but also as an obligation to maintain. A singular error can obliterate all that we possess, developed throughout the years. Hence, remain vigilant, establish your boundaries, and refrain from allowing your emotions to obtain the utmost from those who are present. Analogous in this circumstance, my recommendation is to select the activity that inflicts minimal harm. Occasionally, departure is not an evasion. Nevertheless, it is the optimal method to safeguard the individuals you cherish. Learn to release attachments because this not only liberates you but also assists you in retaining the desirable values you wish to uphold. I departed from the residence with profound melancholy and depth. Life is an extensive adventure, and I resolved never to permit myself to stray once more. My narrative concludes. The most significant event occurred here. an instructive experience in my life that serves as a reminder of the significance of familial bonds and accountability. Thank you all for your attention. I anticipate this narrative will assist you in circumventing such errors.